Hello, and welcome to another AAIS webinar. I'm Werner Chrp, CEO here at AAIS. Today, we'll be taking a look at leveraging underwriting technologies to modernize homeowners insurance. Joining me today is Chin Ma, President of Chrp Technologies, as well as Brandy Wyrick, AVP of Experience at Orion 180. Chin, Brandy, thank you both for joining us today.
Hi.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Before we get started, maybe we should get acquainted with your companies. Brandy, can you tell us a little bit about Orion 180?
Absolutely. So Orion 180 is a technology-based insurance company that utilizes cutting-edge technology, and we pair that with outstanding customer service to simplify insurance experience and enhance the customer experience as well. We are primary HO3. We are offering other products. We're rolling those out as we speak with other states. But primarily HO3 in 6 Southeast states. Myself, I joined Orion 180 in 2018 as one of the original 5. I'm still here. I love it here. And I'm excited to share all of our knowledge about underwriting tools and what's coming.
Well, thank you very much. So, Chin, can you walk us through kind of the story of Chrp and what you have here?
Yeah, sure thing, Werner. Pleasure to be on today, so thank you. A little bit about my background. My name is Chin. I'm a co-founder and president of Chrp Technologies. A bit about the background of our company actually goes back with a Florida-based coastal insurer, writes all across the Southeast. My partner, who built homes all across the U.S. as a contractor, began working in insurance. And I remember the fateful first conversations that we had about it, which was, I don't know why these claims happened. We could have prevented these. And of course, my response to him was, of course you could have, because they've already happened. You know, hindsight's always 20/20. But he proved me wrong. He was a contractor, so he looked at symptoms that led to non-cat claims differently. And in 2017, he launched a program with this carrier as a double-blind study on specific types of home assessments that looked for these symptoms and then worked with homeowners to repair them and ultimately to prevent claims in comparison to kind of the rest of the book. That first year saw tremendous results. And so this insurance company that at the time was about 300 million, now writes about 1.4 billion, basically went through and ran this process through their entire book of business, and improved loss severity, loss frequency dramatically, so much so that in 2021, the impact to loss ratio was about 8 percentage points. And then, as with probably many great ideas, all over, a cocktail. And so him and I, my partner, Mike, and I really enjoy a glass of bourbon at Thanksgiving. And we were talking about this process and the challenges that he was facing, which is the business was growing dramatically. And he needed to hire more people. He had challenges with engaging with physical inspection services in the marketplace. And so he's trying to figure out, well, how do I scale this at this aggressive growth that this company was taking? So my background is in digital transformations. I led Deloitte's insurance digital transformation practice for a fairly long time. I worked there for about 11 years. And having deployed complex technologies at the largest insurance carriers in the world, I knew a little bit about transformative tech, specifically AI. And, I said to him, hey, man, I think we can take your brain and your eyes and embed it into computer vision. And I remember the first time that we saw the results, and it was looking at a specific symptom that had to do with basic plumbing. And we looked at each other and we said, oh my gosh, this tech has jumped leaps and bounds, a lot like what ChatGPT did with large language models. and it was able to determine the condition of things. And so we approached the CEO and we said, hey, Mr. CEO of the company that my partner is working for, let us reduce the cost of your inspection by a fifth, one. Two, let us reduce the time that it took to basically underwrite a home inspection the right way by 30 minutes. Let's do that. So this way you can actually scale it into your book as it continues to grow and grow and grow dramatically. And we've seen tremendous success with our first client. And of course, with other incredibly innovative customer-centric businesses like Orion 180, which I have the pleasure to be presenting with today, Brandy Wyrick, my client.
Thank you very much, Chin. That's exciting. It's a great story. The part you left off was you live up in Brooklyn, and your partner, your co-founder, lives in Florida. How did the two of you meet?
Oh yeah, that's a good point. We always say, we both run this company, but in truth, we have a more important boss, and that is his sister and my wife, Meredith. And so we met through Meredith. We became wonderful friends first, and confided in each other in terms of major career changes. And then, we looked at each other and we said, you know what, why don't we do this together? And we never looked back.
So there's a romance to the story too. That's a great story. Thanks, Chin.
No
So
problem.
Brandy, before engaging with Chrp, Orion 180 was facing some underwriting challenges. Can you tell us about some of the root causes and what you needed to do to meet these challenges?
Absolutely. So there's three areas that we focused on. And those three areas were efficiency, accuracy, and customer service. After all, we're in the customer service business. That plays the larger role. But for efficiency, our challenge was timely identification of risk and issues, and getting reports back to us, having inspections completed, and allowing us time to review it, and give the insured time to repair anything that we had found, any adverse conditions. And so we really needed to streamline that process to make it more efficient for us, from ordering the inspection being completed and returned and reviewing. And so we really needed that efficiency aspect to it. The next one was accuracy. Like this is huge. We're all in the insurance industry. And so accuracy is top data. We have to have the best. And so for us, it was things like sending out an inspection and the wrong home being inspected, and a field inspection, things like that, incomplete inspections being returned, taking pictures of the wrong items, things like that. We really needed that accuracy because, we base our outcome on that data that's provided back to us. And, if we do not have correct data, we're going to make decisions that impact the agent and the insured in multiple ways, right? And so for us, the accuracy has to be there. Mm-hmm. And then, overall, this is a customer experience. Inspections is a customer experience. And one thing that everybody should understand is that inspections are not meant to be used to find something wrong, to get rid of the risk. It should be used as a partnership. And so without the first two, the customer service was being impacted, and not just on our side, but also on the inspection side and getting it completed, assistance, things like that. And so I knew if we were being impacted as much as we were, it was definitely impacting agents and insureds more than we were being told. And that turned out to be true. And so for those three things, they're huge impacts to our overall book and our overall business and overall performance. And so, we really needed something to bridge those gaps and, give us some more data and accuracy to provide better customer service. And, that's where we found Chin.
And what attracted you to their solution then?
What attracted us was the efficiency. It's easy, right? I know Chin's probably going to walk through a lot of the background and how it works and every bit of that. But from start to finish, it was an easy integration with our platform. It's automatic, so we're not sitting here having to manually order inspections and follow up and track and keep all that data together. That was taken off of us, right? And so from efficiency standpoint, the inspection is sent, the link is out there. Accuracy, the AI built into it has been a tremendous help for us. It's decreased our training time. We've gone from months of training down to weeks of training. And so it's more than just a tool for risk mitigation. It's also a training tool for us, which was great. And then customer service, man, start to finish, integration all the way through to date. If we have an issue, I know Chin's right there with his whole team, and it's repaired. Whatever it is fixed automatically, right? Customer service on the agent and insured side, they're right there. If they have an issue, they can contact them. They're going to walk them through the inspection, explain things to them, and just provide that customer service that was not there before.
Outstanding. So Chin, when you start up a new technology company or a new company that's doing something different or doing something that's been done before but in a different way, it's innovative. How important is it to have a client like Orion 180 that's willing to invest time and effort into a solution that's not fully mature?
Incredibly so, Warner. I mean, I think it'd be different if we were a multi-billion-dollar company where we would say, Brandy, you kind of just have to take what we've given you. We have all these great innovation departments, but it'll be about 2 to 3 years before we can get to this requirement. When we set off on our relationship, one of the biggest things that we talked about was kind of the company's kind of interlocking mission. The mission of our company at Chrp is to eliminate non-cat claims. That's what we want to get to. I know it's ridiculously hard. And so we wanted to work with, carriers and customers that truly believe that was an avenue for profitability. And then the other interlocking mission that we have is to help people maintain healthy homes, right? And so, I think the insurance company has been talking about a differentiated relationship other than just, a contractual relationship with a customer and a great claims experience. But what if you just owned an insurance policy and you never reported a claim, i.e. you're their best customer? And so we had this philosophical discussion in the very beginning, and we talked about it, and Brandy and I and her leadership team got on board and said, yeah, like that's what we want to do. That's what we've always wanted to do. And I remember our go live date, and Brandy and I, we have like a little inside joke. We have this acronym that, we call each other. And I said, Brandy, I'm going to be a PIMA. And she's like, what the heck is a PIMA? Well, PIMA means pain in my apple. And so she, of course, goes and says, oh, I'm going to be a PIMA to you. And I'm like, perfect. And so every single day, every single week, we get together, her team members ping me, ping my team, and they say, hey, this isn't exactly working. It's not delivering the best experience that help maintain a healthy home for our homeowners. This isn't helping us, prevent claims. This could do this and help us prevent claims more. And so we constantly have this debate that improves not just the AI, but the workflow solutions, the experience solutions, et cetera. And so, short answer, it's incredibly valuable. And obviously, Brandy, we appreciate the partnership extremely so from you and your team.
So, Brandy, going through that process that Chin describes, I guess a learning process, can you take us through sort of the implementation, what you learned, and then what kind of an impact it's having on your organization, especially any impacts that were sort of a surprise?
Yeah. So I learned patience. That's one. And that, all great things are not built overnight. It does take time and dedication. And we wanted to make sure that we got it right. I didn't want to launch something that, let's launch phase one and then we'll launch another phase. That's not what we wanted to do. We worked in phases to launch a whole product. In working with them, it was really eye-opening at building out the AI portion of this and working with Jen and his team to locate those areas that we really needed to look at and what to look for, right? We went through training. We train our inspection reviewers and every bit of that. But when you get down to it, you have some reviewers that, they'll squint trying to find something. We wanted to take that aspect away. And so for us, it was really targeting those areas of concern. And so, Chin's famous, and I can't believe he hasn't brought it up yet, but, the coupler nut on the toilet bowl from the supply line. I would have never, we look at that, but did we know a lot about it enough that it would cause us to really stop and look at it? Nope, not until Chin brought it to our attention and started teaching us about all of the little things. And that's you hear it around the office. It's the little things that make the biggest difference. And that was very impactful for us in our underwriting process. For our underwriting process and the impact of that, we've been able to retain our policies through this program with Chrp, in the sense that instead of, trying to find something to cancel for, like I said earlier, we use it as a solutions platform. So I said, inspection should not be to cancel something out. It should be to create a partnership with that agent and that insured to say, hey, we have found this. Here's what we're going to do, right? This is the repairs that need to be done. It's impacted us on the insured side as we get calls every day. I did not know. I didn't see that. I didn't know about this. What do I need to do? Who do I call? And, we kind of guide them as much as we can and then hand them off into their agent's hands. But, going through the inspection, it just lets them know that, hey, there's something wrong. We're going to work with you to address it and repair it and ensure that you continue coverage. And that gives them the peace of mind.
So, Chin, when you first sat down with Brandy, you saw an opportunity for Chrp to address their issues. You take us through sort of your experience in implementation.
Absolutely. I think our implementations with Orion 180 and I think with a lot of our other clients have interesting nuances. I mean, at the end of the day, what do? We conduct a home assessment. We analyze those assessments and we enable underwriting departments to automate workflow efficiently and identify risks and work with homeowners to say, hey, we saw this. This is going to result in this. It's not going to be a great situation for you or us, and work with them to fix it. And so, it's not much different around how we work with any client, but at Orion 180, as an example, they've built an industry-leading proprietary policy administration system. And it was solely proprietary. And so what we needed to do was we needed to take a lot of our standardized APIs and all that kind of stuff and make sure that we mold it to their needs to be able to deliver on the experiences that Orion 180 wanted to deliver to their homeowners and to their agents. And so what we learned from that experience is there are many ways to skin a cat, even though those ways seem really similar. So in other words, if you have a guide wire system or you have a Duck Creek system or something else, I think Orion 180 sat in that something else category. But I think if we centered our focus on the problem, Brandy, what do you want to solve? Well, I want to make sure that my customers have a great self-inspection experience and have a mechanism to be able to opt out so that they can get a physical inspection because they might not be able to do it and it might be a physical limitation. How do we solve that problem? Well, let's do it this way. Let's get into a boardroom. Let's make sure that we have it as seamless as possible for your team and your customers. And I think those are the kinds of conversations that ultimately stay true no matter what the technical implementation, but solving the problem. And then I think there's the operational dynamic. I think process and the rigor of process definition is oftentimes overlooked. I think, a lot of folks, when they think about implementations, they say, I want to put this capability in and I want to walk away. I think great things are built through a lot of hard work. And I think that those kinds of conversations, when we see something at scale, like someone had a bad experience, you better bet your butt we're going to pick up the phone and we're going to call that person. We're going to say, how can we serve you better next time? And when we find that out, we immediately engage with Brandy's team. It's like, hey, this is what we heard. It wasn't great. Really sorry, but how do we move forward? I think that an integration, is not just a one and done thing. It's an ongoing thing. And I think that only helps to improve not just us, but our clients and what they do for their customers.
Yeah. So Brandy, you when you implemented it, you had some at the start, you had some increase in efficiencies, but I believe this continuous improvement process actually it showed its results in your bottom line results, right?
Absolutely. It did. It impacted greatly as, we've retained our policies, where we weren't getting inspections completed. When we launched Chrp, our average date of a completed inspection returned was averaging around 16 days. And the last report that we pulled, thanks to working with Chen, and he's been really adamant about, what impacts are you seeing? What can we fix? What needs to be repaired? Addressing those issues. With all of the updates, we've went from 16 days to now 9 days completed, and it's still dropping. The days completed, which has allowed us to retain policies. Not going to get into full numbers, but we've drastically increased policy retention because we're able to review those risks and provide those solutions and keep that policy, in coverage.
You say policy retention, you're talking about the policies that you're underwriting during the sort of free look period, the first 60 days in most states. And there's a huge cost there for most companies because we have a lot of policies that don't make it through the underwriting process, and we rarely put that cost down. It's in there somewhere, but the cost for the agent and the cost for the insurance company to underwrite those policies and not get any premium on it is not insignificant. We hear a lot in the industry for years about policyholder engaging our policyholders. How has this process changed your engagement with your policyholders in the underwriting period?
It has made them more aware. The impact to insureds it's made them more aware of their risk and what we're going to be looking for. So we already give them a heads up. This is basic home maintenance. This is what we're going to look for. This is how the whole process works. But for agents, getting in that 60-day period and having it underwritten and sent back, that's a huge feat for them. They're able to address those issues and retain coverage somewhere else if needed, right? If we get a home that comes in and it's fully under renovation, that's not necessarily something we want. And so to get it in that first 60 days is huge to write it on the correct policy. And, where that comes in is claims time, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they're not aware, if the agent's not aware of a full renovation going on and there's a claim that goes on, that can impact the outcome of the claim, right? And so getting it in that first 60 days allows them to, properly cover that risk as needed.
Right, because if most homeowner policies have a clause that if the home is under construction and a loss occurs, it's not covered. Is that more common? Did you find that to be more common of an exposure than you might have thought previously?
So that is great. So some stats that I do want to give is, since we implemented Chrp, we found 1,500 homes under renovation. Now that does sound like that is a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And not all of them canceled, but I would say 30% of that did, because they came through and it was, some were all the way down to the studs. Some were, just wrapping up renovation, but still missing essential plumbing and electrical and things like that. And so we were able to catch that in the beginning. Another issue that we see a lot of that I don't feel is disclosed a lot to agents, and agents are caught off guard, is rental. We found roughly at this point around 350 to 400 rentals that have come through. Now, again, all of those didn't cancel, they provided us the information. But I would say 10%, you're getting into 40, 50 homes, that's still rental. That's a huge exposure. I mean, you write it on the wrong policy and you get the insured in there, and they're renting it out and they have a guest, the guest falls asleep, running bathroom water, the stove is on, it's an instant and the whole risk is lost. And then, that's E&O, that's a whole lot of problems that come in, right? And so for that, we've been able to catch and mitigate that risk. The other risk that we find is business, a lot of business on site. And for those, we've found a couple hundred of those. Now, again, not all of them have canceled, but, we've had them come through and it's a liability risk. It's a huge liability risk, especially when it's not covered in the policy language.
Right. Well, and then that's an important part of the underwriting process, is not just a yes or no. It's really making sure that the insureds have the coverage they need. And that's probably a help to the agents too, because some of those are not necessarily questions they would think to ask everybody all the time.
Absolutely. And, and to go on the flip side and not to be so downer about it, we also look at the inspection and we find discounts. So I know that's kind of odd to hear, people don't consider carriers reviewing the inspection and looking for discounts. But if we're going through the inspection and let's say we have a tankless water heater discount, if my people are going through it, the team finds a tankless water heater, we go back to the policy to see, did that agent mark that as a yes? Do they have that? If they don't, we go ahead and put that on there for them and we alert them and say, hey, we noticed that you didn't have this discount. We reviewed your inspection. Thank you for providing that. By the way, by providing that, you got this, this, and this discount. And so as an insured, we get to call them and say, hey, house is great. By the way, we were able to find you some discounts. And they're like, well, do you have more? Absolutely. Let's go through that real quick. And so that's the flip side to it, is saving money and making sure that, they're still covered.
So, it's we like, I think you, Chin, would call this a home safety inspection rather than a assessment, I think. But from a practical standpoint, we kind of lump it into this self inspection app type of category. And so one of the question I have for you, Brandy, is, when this usually comes up, people start to say, well, it's not going to work. People aren't going to want to do it. A lot of people can't. We say people will say, well, older people don't have, the phones, or they don't have the technology. So can you talk a little bit about, as you went through this process, where did you get resistance, and how did you overcome that, if you have, and what's been your experience in that regard?
So, it's all in change management, right? We internally, externally, you have to manage the whole change process. And I believe that anytime a company implements any kind of new tool or process, there's always going to be pushback. And we received pushback. But the pushback was more about education wise. Like they didn't understand the whole product. And usually that's where you get most of your resistance, is that the crowd that you're trying to target just doesn't really understand it. And until you go through and you explain everything, like, they're not going to understand it and they're not going to accept it. We did get the pushback of, in certain areas, it's a retirement community. They're not going to want to do this. How do you expect me to complete this? So when we were implementing, that's one thing we talked to Chin about, is like, we have to make, a fail safe for this, because we realize that not everybody can complete this inspection. And so to counter that, we allow agents to go out and help their insured. Agents can go out, they can have the link, they can complete the inspection for the insured. The insured can get with their agent about pictures and submitting that to them and getting that over to us. But, the resistance from agents was just that. They didn't really understand. And so we went through and sent out more education material. We actually held a webinar, worked them through it. We walk them through the app every day here, for them to understand. But we explained it, use it as a tool. It's not just our tool, it's your tool. So if you have an insured that's elderly, or just doesn't want to complete this, or doesn't really understand, go out there and help them. Yes, I understand agents have a lot going on these days. Trust me, the industry, the market, I completely get it. But use it as a tool as well. If you go out to that insured's house and you're going to take photos, you're going to get to see everything else that's out there. And so if you don't cover something, or they have a new vehicle, or they have this or that, that gives you sight to be able to say, hey, have we talked about this? Is this covered? We really need to talk about this. And so as we prepared for that, we wanted to be able to use this as a tool for agents as well. Now, they can still do field inspections if they request it. We do have that built out. But I'll say 9 times out of 10, they complete the Chrp inspection with no problem.
Thank you, Brandy. So Chin, sort of the same question, the flip side to you, because I know this is one of the things that you identified early on, is that you had to make a process that people could actually and would actually complete. Can you speak briefly to the challenges, and sort of what's your, how many people end up completing the inspection?
Sure thing, Warner. Our company is born out of Florida. Not a lot of people go there to be born, if that makes sense, ironically. I always tell folks, I deal with more 80-year-old pickleball players than most people ever do in this space. And I think it's taught us tremendously. When we look at, our business model and everything that Brandy just said, it's about, fighting this battle, this war, this transformation, this hard-earned, profitability and customer retention metrics, and all these things that you work really hard to get. We have to serve her customers just as well and just as intentionally as she does. And so one thing that we've put into place right away is a 7-day a week, 365 customer service model, right? Guess what we're all doing right now? We're running a webinar. Most people are on the phone attending a webinar. What are they not doing? They're not doing a self-inspection because we all got to work. So when you do it on Saturday and Sunday. When you need help, we need to be there, right? And sometimes our customers are not there. And so we need to stand guard while our customers are not able to. In our company, you go through a rite of passage, and that's called a legendary conversation. And a legendary conversation is, you're working with, an 85-year-old pickleball champion, and you have a conversation with her, and she calls you and she says, "Hey, listen, I just can't do it. This is not for me. I wasn't born, in the digital revolution. I can't do this stuff. I'm an analog person." And you spend the time to say, "Hey, listen, I get you think you can't do it. We believe you can. More than happy to look at another option. But if you want to stay on the phone and we can walk through this together, let's do it." One example was a guy. We'll call him R. Furland, Mr. Furland. He was like, "Listen, man, I'm 82 years old. I can't do it." I was like, "Yes, you can." And I remember guiding him through our app, and all of our leadership team participates in customer service at least once a month to work on these things, because you get to see, and then that manifests product improvements. But I remember Mr. Furlan was like, "Okay, I click this," and I go, "Mr. Furlan, please click take photo. Okay, now measure the photo and click take photo." And he's like, "I clicked it." And I said, "Okay, Mr. Furlan, you just got to repeat that." And he goes, "Uh-huh." And at that moment, I realized that I had to guide him through the entire app. And it took us 3.5 hours on the phone. And I spent time with him. I mean, granted, it's not a scalable thing, but I learned so much from that conversation, so much so that it influenced the way that we designed our application, right? He said things like, "That font right there is too small, Chan." Right? It's too small. And I was like, "Yes, sir, Mr. Furlan. Of course it's too small. You think it's small, we're going to make it bigger for you." And so those are the types of conversations, and those are the types of experiences that I think that we as, at least in our company, need to make sure that we stand side by side with, Brandy and her team to be able to deliver. And we get the opportunity to play around with improvement areas that makes it just that little bit easier every single day, every single week, every single month for Mr. Furland.
Well, I think two takeaways that I hear is, one is on the Chrp side, the value when you're providing a service of constant focus on continual improvement, and then from Brandy with Orion 180, I think it's a really good point that when you do something new that people don't know about, you're gonna have to make a decision whether you're going to push through and follow your convictions. Sometimes when you're an early adopter, and congratulations on the success. I guess I would just say, Chin, to wrap things up, can you give us some final insight on how this app works, and what's important?
Oh, sure. Um, Going back to the two mission statements: eliminate non-cat claims and help people have healthy homes. Um, you know, uh, I'm not going to sit here and profess that, conducting inspections is a new thing for the insurance industry. But doing so the right way is incredibly important, right? Now, the right way also necessitates an economic model that works within underwriting. And so being able to leverage self-inspections in concert with physical inspections to be able to do so in a cost-effective way is a huge plus to be able to drive volume and drive more in terms of this type of exercise. And so you then also have to analyze the right things, right? The symptoms that actually lead to claims, not random stuff that is not applicable. And so if you get those two things right, you should see, a high inspection conversion, roughly between 75% to 85% on the self-inspection side, that blended cost-wise can actually reduce your overall inspection cost. And two, if you were to scale this program, you have to ensure that it is done through highly accurate analysis, going back to what Brandy mentioned, right? And so, when you're conducting this exercise, if you don't have accurate analysis, then what does Brandy's team need to do? Well, they need to look at every single photo that comes through, right? And she can only do so much. And so what we need to be able to do as part of our company is to deliver highly accurate AI to complement that exercise, to say, hey, out of the 30 photos, we only need you to look at these two, because these are the only two things that you might want to take some underwriting action, that you might want to offer up a solution to a customer. And that optimizes her team's time to work on the things that truly matters, right? And I think with those two elements, then you can lead to that end result, which is, how do we eliminate non-cat claims, ultimately to improve profitability? And then when you take that capability at face value, historically it's never worked, right? You've probably seen inspection programs in ad nauseam, Werner, in your experience. But what you have to do is you have to do it in a way that focuses on a healthy home and mean it, right? Like there's a unique trust that's built when you reach back out, Brandy, and you say, hey, listen, you have a tankless water heater and you should have a discount. People say, what, really? Like, you're going to give me a discount and that you found something? I thought you were trying to look for the bad stuff to try to decline me. And I think those things really matter. And so if you kind of complement both, those are the kinds of things that actually drive the value propositions that we mentioned today.
So what you're saying is that the traditional, and yes, I've wrestled throughout my career like everybody else, to inspect or not to inspect. What's the cost? How do we know we're getting the benefit for it? And then the cost of going through and looking for the needle in the haystack in each one of those inspections. It sounds like your solution, instead of looking for the needle in the haystack, kind of serves them up right on top, so that you can get right to the issues. Brandy, so for our listeners, when we're talking about AI inspections, all this stuff, it sounds complicated. But what does the inspection look like when it comes to your underwriter?
So, talking about AI, and I'm glad you brought that up, is because that's like the hot topic in the industry right now, right? We've had all of our conferences, everybody's been there, and now all of the industry, all the carriers are trying to implement AI into it. AI is still evolving. It's in its infancy. We haven't even scratched the surface on AI. I mean, you can listen to other talks and all of that, and everybody is still learning. It's still in development. But for us, I'm glad you brought that up, because I wanted to talk about the report and him talking about setting it right up front. So when the report comes through and we get ready to review it, anything that the AI has found, any adverse conditions, it puts it right up at the top. And so we're looking at those first before we even get through the rest of the inspection. And that's the efficiency aspect of it, is that we can see right off the bat what's wrong that it caught, right? If it's bad enough in the first couple of photos, we're still going to look through it, but we already know how this risk is going to end up and how this policy, the status of it, right? So that's going to help us locate. Now, the other part of this that is awesome and fantastic is, we get pushback of, well, how long has this person been reviewing inspections? Like, do they really know what they're looking for? Do they really know, are they making the best decision in this case? The great function in Chen's platform is that we have the ability to escalate inspections. So if we have a reviewer that's kind of guessing at something, in which we have, our rules about that. But if they aren't sure what they're looking at, or if they have a question, maybe it's a new reviewer, they can escalate that inspection to a new queue, and myself or another senior member can go in and look at that and write our notes out, and it goes right back to that inspector, to that reviewer. And so they can see our notes, they move along. It's a quick process for us. And so putting everything front and center for us it's a huge, huge efficiency, time-saving tool.
What's the difference in time that from your old system, or if you're looking at a physical inspection for your underwriters to review a file or underwrite it versus what it is now?
Okay, so I'll take worst case scenario. We've got an interior, exterior. There's several problems wrong with it. I would say the traditional way that we were used to, it would take you maybe 20 to 30 minutes just to work that inspection. And that's not including follow-up and all of that. That is reviewing and then trying to call agent and insured. And sometimes that can go from 30 to an hour, depending on the situation, right?
Mm.
At Chrp, we've cut that down to where we can do it all in 10 minutes.
Pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go. We do have a question here from Josh Murphy, and he asked if there's any discussions about taking overview photos of each room as part of the inspection. I would presume the thinking there is documenting pre-loss condition. Chin, has that been an item of discussion or evaluation?
Yes, absolutely. I do think that there is the balance between the experience and what you would want. I think as an insurance company, you would want every photo known to mankind that's in that home and exterior to that home. But the experience matters. And so, we constantly have this debate between, Brandy and her team and my team around what we should do with photos like that. In our application, we make it fully configurable. So if you go and you say, hey, can I take a picture of the office, the wine cellar, and all the bedrooms? Absolutely. But I think having that friction-based conversation around, hey, how do we keep an inspection under 30 minutes, right? To, hey, let's try to get every single photo that we possibly can. I think those are constant debates that we have to make sure that we manage to both topics.
So if a company, if an insurer is adopting the Chrp platform, they might have a different learning path, and they might have some different thoughts on what pictures should be taken or what's important. So what you're saying is that the platform is configurable by company. So any company could start out with what's out of the box, but you can customize it and test to see if you want to do something different. Does it slow things down? Does it have the impact? And so that each company can have their own learning path. Is that correct?
Correct.
So, here's a good question. First one is, can you get a top view of the roof? Jim?
Not through our application. It's primarily through self-inspection. So there are natural challenges, flat roofs, mansard roofs, those types of things. And there are great providers in the marketplace that offer aerial imagery, drone services, among other things. But perhaps Brandy can share a little bit of her experience.
So, I'm just going to start by saying that any self-inspection that you take that I have reviewed, you're not going to get a top view of the roof. That's across the board. The only way you're going to do that is if you go and use another provider, or you do all field inspections. And I'm going to tell you, going out and field inspections and requiring an overview and requiring them to pull out the drone or climb on top of the roof, things like that, that starts costing extra. The field inspectors aren't going to do that for free. They are expecting you to pay up for that service. So like you said, there's other vendors out there that can provide those overviews, and we do have that incorporated into our system, and it uses AI as well. That's a huge factor for us. It tells us the roof condition. That is kind of our pre-underwriting to the inspections. That sends us an alert of saying, hey, this roof came in, we found this, and this. It has this roof score. You need to make this inspection when it comes in a priority. And we have that built into our system so that we can address that issue right then.
Yeah, the issue of integrating so many third-party information sources is a big one for carriers today. But not any one third-party carrier source can answer all your questions. So good point.
That's but the data that's provided back is gold.
Yes,
that's all I can say is it's gold.
Yep. So Brandy, if somebody from a carrier is sitting here listening to this and thinks, okay, I might want to evaluate or look into this, what advice would you have for them?
I would say start the conversation, reach out and start the conversation, because one thing that Chen didn't go into detail is they have the ability to go into detail. And so I know that water heaters, we talked about that a while ago, water heaters over a certain age, he has the ability to look at the label and flag this and look at labels of other things. I mean, Fed pack, getting into the details of it.
Fed pack, by Fed pack, you mean Federal Pacific, right? Just
I
for
do.
anybody. Okay.
I do.
And
For those
how does that
for knob and tube, Fed pack, aluminum wiring, things like that, you can build those in. So when I say it's the little things, it is asbestos, looking for that groove and that wave at the end. Those little things are huge impacts. And that was a huge impact for us. We were missing those things and we needed to find it. And so the only way for us to get this implemented was just start the conversation. When Chen came in, he came down. Was it with Micah? It was with Micah, wasn't it? He came in with Micah, came in their polos and their khaki shorts and their white sneakers. And they walked in and I'm thinking, okay, they didn't come in stuffy and without like this, this stuffy presentation. No, they were real. And that's the thing that you have to keep in mind is that they're real. They want to know, they want to help you. They're not there just to sell you a product, right? They're there to help you work with it. But I did find it funny that they walked in and all of the guys in the room matched.
including your CEO, right?
Just a sign right there.
You have it here. If you're a vendor on the call today, make sure to wear khaki shorts, baby.
Real quick, we're running out of time. Can you make a quick Chin, tell us about what you do with water heaters?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Couple different things. First thing is we look at the label, and we work with our clients to define kind of a trigger age that is too old. We have some data that shows that water heaters above 15 years typically fail. We use a label to basically determine the manufacturing date that then basically calculates the age. And then we look at the water heater itself. Typically when they are getting ready to go bad, corrodes, and you can see the corrosion seeping through the interior lining of the water heater. Of course, what people should do is they should properly maintain it and replace the anode rod on an annual or biannual basis, but they typically don't, like most people. We also look at the expansion pipes and expansion tank and connection pipes, because what we can then see there is we can also see the plumbing type throughout the entire home. So could it be poly, cast iron, or galv, as well as active leaks that could be a source of legit water dripping or calcification. Those are just a few things and examples of what we do with water heaters that are indicative of risks that lead to claims.
Can you identify polybutylene pipes?
Yes, sir. We do it all the time.
Right.
Yeah. I think to be candid with the group here on the call, stuff that is behind the walls is always going to be tough, right? But you see it peeping out sometimes When you look at toilet plumbing or under the sink plumbing, typically getting a plumbing manifold photo is a good idea as well, especially in areas where you do see a lot of poly or, plumbing types that are not conducive to what you would underwrite for. But those are just some things that we typically have conversations with our clients about and see if it fits.
Well, thank you very much for that. I think we answered most of the questions, except for the one question. Somebody named Anonymous wants to know if you both are hiring. I guess you should take that both as a compliment.
I would
Brandy,
say check the websites.
yeah.
Or email me directly, cma@chrptech.com. That's Country Music Awards at chrptech.com.
Well, Brandy and Chin, this has been a great discussion. Thank you for your engaging conversation today, and thank you to all our attendees and all of their questions. Great questions. That's all the time we have today.